stay for a month on holiday, and the guys have paid them backwards and forwards. Are we done, Jace? We're live in the Department of Conversation with Shaun Wallace from the Chase. Shaun, welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Very well. Look, the first thing I want to do, I was ensconced in morning radio today, and I thought, you poor bugger. I mean, all of us have done radio. All of us have done the things that happen in radio. But in the world we live in today, with different mediums, it must be a struggle sometimes to go through morning radio.
No, not at all.
You love it?
Yep, I love it. I love all forms of medium because it gives me a chance to express myself. So whether it's TV, radio, Twitter, doesn't bother me.
Yeah. Do you when you're in the UK and you're working on the Chase, are you one of these people who has fingers in other pies? A lot of people who are in TV also do something in radio, or they also do, panto, or they also do. Do you use the opportunity for the Chase to do other media stuff?
No, I'm a lawyer first and foremost. I still practice law.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm still.
That must be weird. Are you ever in a courtroom practicing law?
Yeah, I'm a criminal defence lawyer. The last big trial I did was at the Old Bailey. Got my client off for double attempted murder, double attempted bodily harm, double attempted firearms.
Does that mean you're doing like I can't remember what you call it? You know, when you're like the right to attorney thing. Do you get what do I call it? But when you get assigned like a pro bono case sort of thing, do you
right?
And you walk into the room and they've been in lock up and they're just like, what?
No, I mean, people know who I am, but as I say, it's a completely different environment. I'm Shaun Wallace, the lawyer, when I'm practicing law. I'm on TV. I'm Shaun Wallace, the chaser. So
it must be strange, though. I mean, I'm not saying it's you find it strange, but it must be kind of in a court setting when people maybe who aren't in your team, you're not defending or whatever, they see you in the courtroom. That must be a bizarre situation.
No, it's not. As I say, I can't help the face I've got. People know who I am. But they are completely different environments. I mean, as I say, at the Old Bailey, it was a very, very serious charge. My client would have got nearly 30 years if he'd have gone down. And one of the defendants did go down, and he did get 30 years. So the jurors are not interested in celebrity. They're interested in whether or not the prosecution have proved their case. And if I happen to be a person who's on television defending a client, then that's totally irrelevant.
Do you think that's different in the UK? Because when you say the jurors aren't interested in celebrity, I think about how some recent high-profile court cases have happened in America, and in that situation, be they the defendant or someone else, the jury and the media seems to be very interested in celebrity in that situation.
Oh, they certainly are. I mean, there have been some high-profile cases. I mean, the Bill Cosby case, for example, but again, that resulted in the conviction. And as I say, the jury were not interested in celebrity. They were interested in whether or not the prosecution proved their case. So it just goes to show that jurors do take cases seriously, and they're only interested in trying a case according to the evidence. You could have the most fantastic celebrity law in the world. The one thing he can't change or she can't change is the evidence.
Yeah. In the UK, you don't have cameras in courtrooms either, do you?
No.
So that must help.
I'm glad because I mean. You can actually play to the gallery, for want of a better expression. There are experiments where they do allow certain cameras into certain cases. I mean, take for example when we had the Brexit in relation to whether or not Boris Johnson lawfully prorogued Parliament. I mean, the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the British Isles, they had the cameras in to actually hear the legal argument. So it would depend upon the seriousness of the case.
I think we all think about high-profile celebrity cases, and one of the ones that always jumps out is the OJ trial. But the cameras in the courtroom were one of the reasons I think that turned into what it was. So having the sketch artist as opposed to a live feed for 6 hours must help keep that kind of celebrity focus, or even just focus on the case down a bit.
Yeah, it does. And as I say, so far as they didn't have cameras in the Michael Jackson trial, for example. But I mean, the O.J. Simpson trial was so high profile around the world, and I mean, Johnny Cochran was my hero. I mean, he was just fantastic.
He was, if it don't fit, you must have quit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would. Even in my career, I've been a lawyer for 35 years. I'd love to do one big major trial which is around the world. Just to basically show that I could do it.
Did that ever happen? Do you ever get approached from like elsewhere in Europe to travel and be a lawyer?
No, because obviously certain countries have their own jurisdictions. Right. I mean, for example, although I could, in theory, practice in New Zealand, I'd have to get special dispensation in order to actually practice. I think there's a high-profile case going on in New Zealand right now.
There's a couple at the moment, yeah.
Right, and I think one of the lawyers is a British QC. So, I mean, in that regard, obviously he would have got special dispensation from the New Zealand bar in order to actually represent the client.
It's kind of the equivalent of, it's a silly example, but if you're a teacher, if you go to a different country, you might have to fill out some paperwork and confirm you fulfill the same criteria to teach in that country. But does that ever run in conflict with the chase work? Like if you've got a big case like a murder trial that's massive, do you have to say to the production guys, I'm unavailable for this 6 weeks?
Absolutely, and they appreciate that fact because that takes priority. Although, as I say, I love the chase and I'm privileged to be on it. I'm a lawyer first who happens to be on TV, not the other way around.
That's really interesting. What about the other chasers? Are they primarily television figures first and do other things? Or
Paul Sinner, who was here in May, he's a comedian, the Cineman. Mark and Anne are essential, and to an extent Jenny are, they do it full time really. They, as a result of being on the chase, they do other things like they do panto.
So the chase gives them opportunities.
Absolutely, opens a lot of doors.
Yeah. I've always wanted to know, not about your personal business, but about how payment happens for the chasers. Is there like a flat fee and a win bonus? Because I wonder how, and I mean, it's probably easy for you because you're a lawyer. We were going to look at, especially when the celebrity chases happen for charity. Jimmy Carr does a chase with one of the chasers for £82,000, £100,000 up for grabs in that chase for charity. Is it ever hard to sit up there and kind of, for want of a better word, not throw it for a good cause? And I was wondering how that is controlled within the production.
Right, we are professional quizzers. We are not interested in it's a great cause trying to win that money for charity.
Yeah.
But for me, when I beat a team the other day, on the table was £100,000. Listen, they got a consolation of £1,000 each. Listen, £1,000 is a lot of money. Simple as that. What
does the filming take? It's an hour show. What does it take to film?
The celebrity invariably takes about 3 hours because we have a live audience there. And normally when we do the normal daytime TV, it takes about 2 hours to film. So we do 3 shows per day. When we do the celebrities, we do 2.
Right.
Because remember, Bradley's on his feet for a long, long time. And, he does get sort of 20 to 30-minute breaks in between filming. But we're normally in the shows from around 10 o'clock in the morning to about 4:35, sometimes 6.
And what you do 3 a day, so you have a week of filming and then that covers the next kind of month and a bit of
We do about 2 weeks of filming.
Right.
Right now we're still in the middle of a filming block and I should actually be there. But when they asked me to do that, I said to them, look, I've got a commitment to come to New Zealand, and they were slightly miffed. But they understood because coming to New Zealand is important to me, so that's why I'm here.
What is it? I mean, I saw you in the photo with the All Blacks jersey on. Was that against the English team? Was that week?
Right, it was a night before the semi-final.
Yeah,
because I loved the All Blacks. When I won Mastermind, the day I won Mastermind, I was actually wearing my All Black T-shirt.
Oh,
so
right.
I've got an affinity. I love my country. I'm not saying I don't, but the All Blacks are a special team, and I thought, wrongly it turned out, to actually send a good luck message to the All Blacks, and I think I jinxed them, I think.
Well, England played bloody well on that day.
They did because, England were out of the blocks and they took the game to New Zealand. By the time New Zealand responded, the game had gone. And sometimes I think the reason why they lost is because expectation sometimes breeds complacency. And I'm not saying they were complacent on the day, but even when they went 12-0 down, I think the All Blacks thought they could still come back, and invariably they would.
Yeah.
But the game just ran away from them. And so far as England is concerned, as it turned out to be, they played their final in the semi-final, which is the wrong time to play your best game.
I just think they got smashed. I think that England just smashed them and didn't let them do what they normally do.
Yeah, and that's what when South Africa saw that, they said, you know what we're going to do? We're going to smash you, and that's exactly what they did.
So do you have a bit of an affinity with New Zealand, the country, as well? Like you've been here a couple of times?
No, February was the first time I've ever been here. Yeah. As a little boy, I always wanted to go to the other side of the world. I've never ever thought I'd ever get the opportunity, and that's what being on the chase has given me. It's given me the opportunity to travel the world. And when I first arrived in February, I had no idea how popular the show was.
Right.
I really didn't. And, I am grateful for the fact that the show is such a success over here. And that's why I've come here to say thank you to the people of New Zealand.
Oh, nice.
Because I always say this, without the public, the show wouldn't be a success.
Yeah, of course.
And there's a lot of people who are in the public eye who are famous, who forget who put them in the position of fame in the first place, the public. And they become more and more divorced away from them, become more and more paranoid, and they're just losing touch with a sense of reality.
There seems to often be as well, I mean, obviously the chase is franchised around the world now, but there often is is the English one the original?
Yes.
Yeah, because the original, it's very difficult for an imitator to overtake the originator. Here's breakfast, by the way.
Thank you very much. As I say, I'm the world's first chaser, because I was the first chaser.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's what they always call me back in England.
Cool.
I was the world's first chaser.
Got some breakfast coming in from the guys downstairs.
Thank you, guys.
Umbrellito's providing breakfast, all sorts of bits and bobs here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
If I could, Ed, actually, could I have just croissants with cheese only, if you don't mind?
There's some
muffins
and stuff as well.
Yeah, because I don't eat pork, unfortunately. I should have told you that. So could I have croissants with just cheese only?
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
cool.
you, mate.
And there's muffins and other stuff if you want to help yourself, and obviously fruit, and we'll dig into it.
Yeah, cheers.
Actually,
cheese and egg croissants would be fantastic. Cheers, bruv.
Take a bit longer for the egg.
I don't mind, bruv. I don't
all right.
mind.
Thanks, Ed. Come and help yourself to breakfast, guys, if you wanna eat some stuff. So the originator, you guys are the original, and that seems to be more popular. And I think about things like, and I don't want to get into the goods and bads of it, but Top Gear was one of those things. Top Gear, the original, well, I guess the second iteration of it. Then they tried to model around the world, Australia, and then it didn't work. Didn't work as well. Your guy seems to be the one that's the one that everyone loves most of all.
Exactly.
How many countries is the British one shown in?
It's shown in mainly the English-speaking countries.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because
and they actually show it on satellite TV in Dubai, so people know why I'm in Dubai. And
really?
Yeah.
Is there places that you got? Lots of places you can go that you aren't recognised now, like non-English speaking countries you can travel freely in.
I could travel freely anywhere,
right?
But in terms of being recognised, as I say, I was in Japan. I was recognised, so it just goes to show.
Right.
Yeah.
So your fame is not that kind of fame that makes life impossible.
No, and even if it did, I'd take it in my stride anyway, because as long as I'll always respond to people because it's my way of saying thank you. But people generally are excited, but they're not intrusive.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Like we've had a few comedians on, and they always talk about comedians are notorious for having people come and say, hey, I'll tell you a joke. Or tell us a joke, and they'll come up to people and say, oh, I know this really funny joke, I'll tell this comedian, it's really, really crude. Is that occupational hazard with you? Do you have people come and say, did you know? And then go, throw you random facts, and you go,
exactly. And what gets if I didn't know, I've just learned something. Thank you.
Yeah. And if you did, do you get to go, or if they ask you a question and then you get it right, do you get to have like that sort of smug, put on your persona that you have on TV, sort of thing?
And if I get it wrong, the same way, people are just generally pleased to see me, and that's why they do it. They don't do it to basically say, oh, I'll beat the chaser. Some of them do, to be fair.
That's pastrami, it's not.
Yeah, I feel like it's I feel like it would be a badge of honour if you asked the chaser a question on the street and they didn't know it. You'd be like, oh, I know there's one thing the chaser doesn't.
You do have that persona. I mean, all of the chasers have a persona on, of that kind of, I'm going to stay straight and I'm not going to give away my answers. And
that's me being serious. It's a joke.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I'm the only chaser who'll go and see the contestants afterwards, whether they win or lose.
Yeah.
I'll always do that.
And of course, I'm sure this gets talked to you about a lot, but the whole kind of Fanny Schmeller incidents and those sorts of things, which is one of the funniest things on YouTube.
And that's what made the show a success.
Do you reckon it was that clip?
Yep, I'm convinced. Because everywhere we go in the world, first thing they say,
yeah, of course.
Do you remember Fanny Schmeller?
Yeah. And I was going to say, if people haven't seen it, just look it up on YouTube, but I'm sure everyone's seen it. And it's one of those things that I know for me, it pops up on my YouTube feed once every 6 months, and I always watch it. Yeah. Even though I've seen it 10 times, I always watch it. It's hilarious.
And that's what makes a show a success, because we can ask questions which are really suggestive, which are straightforward, easy. But I think it's a combination of having a witty and wonderful host, and that's why, to make the point you made, it's made around the world now. They've got one in Australia. I've done the Australian version of the Chase.
Okay.
I like Andrew O'Keefe.
Yep.
But he's no Bradley.
He's no Bradley.
And everybody uses Bradley as a yardstick, as a host, as a presenter. So,
yeah. And now,
which I think is unfair, to be fair.
But Bradley's background is acting, Wasn't he one of his Coronation Street or something like one of those?
He used to be a soccer player.
Oh.
So he gave that up in order to actually wanting to become an entertainer. And he's had to start at the bottom, doing the working men's clubs, going on cruise ships, being a redcoat. So, he's paid his dues. And the one thing I was saying to people yesterday, he's a wonderfully talented man. But there are a lot of people who are just as talented, if not better than Bradley, who never see the light of day. And the one thing I always say to people, and the same thing must have happened to Bradley, you never know who's watching you. And when you're ever putting your talent on display, always make sure you put your best foot forward, because you don't know who's watching you. And that's exactly what happened to him.
Where does this, and I'll use the word humbleness, in you come from? It seems that you are the kind, not you are the kind of person, you have the kind of position that if someone else had it, an ego, and that could easily come with it. But you're like, I'm never going to be too famous. I'm always going to be out there. I always say thanks to the guests. Where is this come from?
Because never let fame change you.
Yeah. But there has to be something in you that's grounded. What's the genesis of this for you?
Because of the people who I grew up with, because of the grounding I've had from my parents, because of the friends I still keep. I still have the same friends. They're very, very proud of me, but we'll have a laugh, we'll have a giggle, and they'll take the piss out of me as if I was the same snotty Shaun Wallace of 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
Yeah.
So far as I'm concerned, I'm just Shaun.
Yeah.
And that's exactly how I want to be treated. I'm no different than anybody else. Just because I'm on TV, it doesn't mean to say that I'm a god. It doesn't mean to say that I don't bleed or cry like everybody else. I'm no different to anybody else.
I think that's the attitude that we would hope most people of profile have.
I wish.
But it doesn't seem to be the attitude that a lot continue on with.
And that's what I said to you. A lot of people, I'm not saying everybody's like that. There are a lot of people in the public eye who are extremely famous who forget where they come from.
Yeah.
Who forget the humble origins, who forget the beginnings, who forget the fans who made them famous. And they become so devoid from reality, and they become paranoid because they're worried about people actually taking their position. They become rude and disrespectful to the fans who basically want to, idolize them, and they're sort of, I ain't got time for you, just walk off. Why be like that?
Yeah. The flip side to that, I watched the movie yesterday. The movie about there's an electrical storm and the Beatles disappear. Along with, I won't spoil it. There's a bunch of other stuff which you didn't realize were going to disappear as well, which is quite funny. I did watch that thinking how difficult it must be when you're put in that position, of someone who just breaks and becomes a world sensation so quickly, and everyone treats you like a god, to then not take. It must be even harder to. I'm not saying that's even with your thing, but in that situation, it must be even harder not to go, my shit don't stink.
But you know what? Guess what? I'm today's news. I'm tomorrow's cheap rapper.
It's such a good attitude.
And
it's such a good way to take a look
there's
at
a lot
things.
of people who are famous who are like that. You got a lot of celebrities who have that enduring fame, like the Mick Jaggers and the sort of Paul McCartneys. They'll be famous long after they're dead. But these so-called celebrity, reality TV personalities who have that 15 minutes of fame, who basically think this shit don't stink.
Yeah.
And once they become yesterday's news, they spend a life trying to switch back on the light of fame. And you know what? Guess what? Once it's off, it's off.
Well, the 15 minutes, Jackson Pollock. Do you think you having...
Andy Warhol, actually.
Oh, was it? Sorry, wrong way. There you go. I just got chased.
I was going to come in and correct you if he didn't. There you go.
Do you think that your celebrity part of your life being the second focus is also a helping hand that, like, if that disappeared, your first focus is still there, which is law?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I can go back to being Shaun Wallace.
Yeah. As opposed to the Dark Destroyer.
Exactly.
What other names do they have for you? Those ridiculous names.
The Legal Eagle. That's what I was originally called.
One.
Yeah.
The Legal Eagle's good.
Yeah.
When you did Mastermind, what was your topic again?
Soccer.
It was soccer. So you and Bradley must get on like a house on fire then.
Yeah. He supports Arsenal. I support Chelsea.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting watching the chase from here. I think all of us kind of consider ourselves quizzes at time, but it's the regional stuff that always falls you over. Like, for example, the Arsenal football question or the whatever from here in New Zealand. For me, at least, I'm like, I haven't got a clue. What do you find that when you're traveling around New Zealand, you're picking up things, and are you a store of information? Does it stay there?
Yeah, I try to. That's why when I first came here, I did I took on the Mastermind champion of New Zealand. And it was 2 rounds. It was general knowledge and a specialist round.
Right.
The general knowledge questions they asked me were all on New Zealand culture. I lost 6-2.
Yeah.
When it came to the specialist round, his was on New Zealand cricket, mine was on American presidents. I battered him. I even answered his questions. But you know what they did? They didn't show that on TV. What they showed was the British chaser being hammered by the New Zealand chaser, which I don't mind. But you know, guess what? Tell the truth, what really happened.
Yeah.
That's not annoying me.
That doesn't seem very doesn't seem very generous for New Zealand as well, because we like an underdog story in New Zealand. I think if they'd showed you losing, we would have started rooting for you. Even
Exactly.
Though you're
Listen, I don't mind losing. If I lose, I'll lose. But show the true picture.
We'll give you our little American president there if you want. You can do American president.
Donald Trump, Donald J. Trump.
And this is our specialist button. If there's a you could have done this for my wrong fact there. You just hit the fake news button.
Fake news.
So that's always.
Fake news.
Yeah, Jackson Pollock was the dude with all this, with the paint flicks, and Andy Warhol's the soup can.
One of the best documentaries ever, where the bleep is Jackson Pollock. I mean, you can say fuck on the internet, but it actually is bleep because they don't put it on the thing.
Ed Wood played him in the film, didn't he, Jackson Pollock?
I'm not sure.
I think he did.
But it's a documentary about a woman who found a painting, got given a painting from a $5 yard sale, and the documentary is basically on, is this a genuine Jackson Pollock or not? It's a really cool movie. So,
well, there you go. That goes into another British phenomena, Antiques Roadshow. You know, the phenomenon that is phenomenal that is Antiques Roadshow. Now, no matter who you are, you kind of, everybody just like, you're flicking channels and you kind of, you just ponder to find out what that random little figurine is worth that they found in the garage. You know, it's kind of one of those oddities around the world, isn't it?
Do you know how up to date we are here? Have you seen the chase since you've been here? It's on TV1 at 5 o'clock or something.
Yeah, I have seen. I saw Paul's final chase the other day. Didn't we watch it the other day? So I think you're about 6 months behind.
Oh, is it that much?
Yeah, it's not that bad because they mix it up.
Yeah, all right.
Because if they were to show it in order as we've recorded it, you'd never see a victory.
Right.
Who wants to watch a show where nobody has a chance of winning?
Right. So what would be the win-loss ratio?
But as collectively, as between us chasers, we win 3/4 of the matches we play.
That's not bad. I mean, I'm thinking not bad for the contestants.
Yeah.
I would have thought it would have been less than that.
Yeah, about 75%.
I was also.
I saw that you strategically said collectively because I'm sure that you know what your figure is. Is yours higher?
I certainly do.
Is yours higher or lower than the collective figure?
Lower. Right.
Who's the best chaser then, statistically speaking?
Anne.
Is that right? Because I've seen her on the Australian one as well. Do all the guys travel, get opportunities at other?
Mark and Anne are regular Aussie chasers. I'm a guest chaser.
Yeah.
So only the 3 of us have actually been to Australia. So to answer your question, Anne's win ratio would be about 77%. Paul would be about 76 alongside Mark. Jenny would be about 72%.
And this is all chases, not just the final chase?
No, this is wins because Mark's an actual mathematician.
So wins within the context of the show. So when they during the final chase, not just the individual guests.
Yeah, we're talking about the actual win. So Mark's a mathematician, so he keeps an accurate record of the win loss. So mine would be 69-70.
Yeah. Some more breakfast for you there.
Okay.
You guys have got breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It looks like sort of. You have to get a doggy bag.
We will
on the way home.
Yeah.
What's the do you ever get tired of people of the opportunity to do quizzing? I mean, is it something that you kind of go, okay, I've had enough? You know, like cricketers want to have the summer off, or does it ever?
I quiz all the year round. I love it.
Do you got your boys? You go meet at the local sort of thing. Do you do the local quiz as well?
Yeah, I quiz 3 nights a week.
And do people look at you in the pub and go, oh crap?
No, because the pubs I normally go to, everybody knows who I am.
Right.
I normally play in Paul Sinner's team every Tuesday. We play in the Quiz League of London, which is the toughest quiz league in the world.
Right.
I'm not saying that because they have like eggheads. Do you know the program Eggheads?
Yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Ashman is the best player in the world, best quiz in the world. Pat Gibson is the second best. They are that good. And I'm always asked whether or not I get tweets day after day. Why don't the eggheads meet the chasers?
Yeah.
In this sort of track. It's like trying to get 2 unbeaten boxers in the ring at the same time. It will never really happen. But if you was to ask me, if we had it on a format, on a buzzer, we beat them every single time. Because we done a non-televised version one time and we smashed them.
Oh, really?
However, if you was to do it on an intellectual highbrow a university-style challenge-type quiz, I think they'd win.
Right. A different kind of intellect, different kind of knowledge.
They're so good. Kevin Ashman is so good. He would travel around New Zealand, and by the time he finished, he'd be able to answer questions on.
Right.
That's how deep they go.
Wow. What's the most you've ever seen given away with you being the chaser?
The most I've lost?
Yeah.
£90,000.
I don't want to say lost. That sounds so negative.
No, lost. That's
away.
That's exactly how it was. I didn't give it away. You had to earn it, and I lost £90,000.
And I think I've found a flaw in the system.
Okay.
And obviously, everybody knows you want to have as many contestants as possible to get those head starts at the beginning. But it seems when there's only one, and they don't have to call out the name.
That's an advantage.
So actually, I reckon having one person at the end to set for the chaser is actually an advantage of having 2, 3, or 4, because the amount of time when Bradley has to say their name that they lose in doing that, because the chaser doesn't have to press a buzzer.
They've got to press a buzzer.
Yeah.
I still think the advantage of the best type of contestants in the final chase would be about 3, because you've got different type of skill sets. And if they sort of plan the strategy right, sometimes, they have some weird strategies like, hand signals and things like that, not realising time is of the essence. But I think 1 is ideal if you're a good quiz player and you're confident in your own ability and you're not frightened to get a question wrong.
So the question is, how many questions would you extra get to answer at an opportunity versus how many steps would you lose? That would be to figure that out.
Exactly. And, it's obviously dependent upon how many questions you receive, both as in the final chase.
Yeah. Now, I know you guys are going to have to bail shortly-ish.
Yeah.
5 minutes? 5 minutes. Yeah, Jace, you were going to jump in then?
Yeah, I was because I'm a fan of the chase, and I'm always sitting there watching, and you have the it's not even necessarily a stereotypical person, because you can't judge a book by its cover, but you have somebody come in, they just completely bomb in their first 60 seconds. You can have a second to while I answer my question to and then they they get like 3 questions, and then they also take the low ball answer, that thing, and then so they can get back. But the flip side of that is then in the final chase they answer a pushback, or they get one question right, and
Absolutely.
that's the difference between so because you always sort of like, but I guess I'm always curious about what the vibe is. If somebody comes in and gets £1,000 in their chase, and the whole group as a collective has like £80,000, and then they get £20,000 for their £1,000 contribution. Is there always like a bit of hostility? Everybody's just happy to win.
I think they're happy to win. I mean, I can't speak for how the contestants think because it's their team.
Yeah.
I remember one time I played a team where they put me up against a super team. 2 players, 2 tough players. They both got back with the high offers. Knocked out the third one. The final one took a negative minus £9,000 offer, and the whole essence is to try and get back.
Yeah.
Now I could see that the other 2 were really annoyed, and that was to my advantage. Yeah. Because at the end, I beat them by 1 second.
Got in their head.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the thing is, as you're saying with the egg kegs versus you guys, is that they don't have the time pressure as much. They obviously have there's a little bit of a counter, but the pressure does crazy things to people. People can't spell some people can't spell their own names under pressure. You say got 5 seconds, spell your name. They're just like they spend the first 4 seconds going.
Yeah, exactly. It's happened to chasers.
Well,
as
you see that with chasers. I can't remember who it was, but when I watch it occasionally, and there'll be like looking up to the left, up high in the sky. You can see the cogs going tick, 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 and then quite a simple answer comes out, but it's there. Are you someone who is so you've done Mastermind and you've done a quiz championship where you're like 280th in the world or something? That was
okay. When I did that quiz championship, it was my 52nd birthday. No,
right.
I didn't prepare for that, but we normally have.
So you're saying 280th in the world is not good enough? You're saying that 280th in the world is not good enough?
Not really.
Yeah, okay.
I think somebody to be a chaser. I think they want to be number 1. I think every single one of them.
Right. Yeah, exactly. But
do you when you're in the green room backstage, you guys always sort of like trying to quiz each other? That sort of thing. One up.
No. One of the first things I said to Mark when he joined, because I was the first chaser, I said, listen, in order for the show to work, there can't be any egos. Because once you get into the scenario where you're saying I'm better than you, it's going to breed resentment. So everybody's bought into that ethos. Listen, I'm sure they think they are the best chaser. I'm going to think I'm the best chaser. But that's not for me to judge at the end of the day. The most important thing is the success of the show.
So last question, and then we'll let you go and do a little tiki tour of Dunedin before you head off. Is what about you in the future as a competitor? So in other words, there are other competitions around, like a Mastermind or something like that, where you aren't the expert. You're in the competition. Any interest, anything like that on the horizon?
My ITV contract prevents that.
So you can't do that.
No.
What about, let's say ITV goes for a happy time, you happily move on from there, opportunities to be actually a contestant in some kind of big championship. Is that something that you do?
Well, I mean, I would, but it's like taking a step back.
Right.
But I mean, I quiz for the love of quizzing.
Right.
But as it stands now, they wouldn't allow me to actually do any other quiz shows.
So partly when you say it's step back, you're the daddy at the moment, and to have to take a step backwards, you don't want to do that.
Well, who wants to take a step backwards?
Yeah. Hey, thank you for giving us a little bit of time.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's a little shorty podcast for us today.
Thank you, but next time I come, will be longer.
And we'll get those cricket facts and figures and stuff queued up, and we do this thing sometimes called a comparison podcast.
Okay.
Where so we have an All Black in with us and we watch the All Blacks play. So we run the podcast live alongside an event. Maybe we'll have to do one with a cricket game or something, a 2020 when you're out here, and we'll do a comparison podcast alongside it.
Brilliant.
From the Chase, Shaun Wallace. Oh, before you go, plugs. You got books and stuff out at the moment?
I certainly have. Chasing the Dream. I've been plugging my book, Chasing the Dream. Everybody's loved it since they've read it. So I tell my life story within the aftermath of losing the Eggheads Grand Final in 2008, listening to Steely Dan's greatest hits.
Yeah.
It's a great story, honestly.
And available in all good bookstores.
It certainly is.
I heard someone say the other day, and if it's not in a bookstore, then that's a terrible bookstore. So available in all good bookstores. Cheers. Shaun Wallace, thank you for joining us. Thanks
Cheers,
so much.
kid. Thank you very much. Thank you. Could I have another Coke?
Absolutely. Yeah, whatever you want.